This is a story about my relationship with plants. And right away, I need to share that growing as a child, I was never very attracted to plants. And in our family apartment, if we had at least one or two plants in a pot, they would always die. And actually, I never questioned why. Nobody paid any attention. It wasn't something important or valuable. So my childhood, my teenage period, until late 30s, when I was in Canada around 2020, 21, I just felt this draw to plants. I would just walk down the street and see something growing inside people's houses. And I just started thinking it looks so beautiful. So this started growing and brought me to actually buying houseplants. My first houseplants were something very simple from the list of hard to kill plants. So I had maybe 3 or 4. And when I was taking care of them, I started sensing some kind of amazing, very pleasant vibe between me and the plants. And I definitely felt there is some kind of very subtle burst reaction to my watering. I discovered how it is amazing to watch how they grow. I remember my spider plant started overgrowing. I intuitively knew what to do without checking on internet. I took out the plant from the pot, separated it into 2. And one pot was kind of ugly, so I decided to weave some pattern around it. So I was holding the pot with the plant inside and weaving, and it took me maybe 2-3 hours, and that's it. But later there was such a huge difference. This plant in this pot was bursting and creating so many baby spiders. They were all hanging, looking like a waterfall. And the other plant was also very happy, but did not have such amount of reproduction. So anyways, then I moved to Costa Rica for around 9 months. And in Costa Rica, the environment and the climate is so amazing for me to upgrade this experience. So I went a little bit crazy. I remember I went to nursery and bought around 30 new plants, medicinal, non-medicinal. I didn't have any certain plan. I was just intuitively picking. And the best thing that I had conditions to grow them, because we rented spaces that had huge gardens, and one place was even a whole farm where the landlord gave me a corner where I can plant whatever I want. By then I already knew that I would like to discover herbalism. So I looked on internet and found a course in Costa Rica nearby that looked really, really nice. I paid deposit fee and just had to wait like 2-3 months. But later, I woke up one day with the feeling that if I will be guided by someone how to make medicine, how to label plants, how to work with them, it's going to be almost like betraying my own inner self. I suddenly realized that I don't need to follow anyone's method. I need to follow the plants. And from that moment, something happened inside of my body. Just to give you an example, like I would set an intention to create a medicine to help me with my menstrual cramps. I would go out to the garden with that intention, and my body would be pulled, like led to a certain plant, and my hand will be pulled to a certain part of the plant, whether it's leaf or a root. And my hand also gave me a signal of picking up the amount. 2 leaves or 10 leaves. And then I would come back home and using the same guidance of my body, I would know what to do. So I started making tinctures, concoctions, decoctions without looking into internet. Well, I have to be honest, I scrolled a little bit to understand that people mainly use oil and mainly use alcohol or they boil. So there are 3 mediums for the plants. And at the same time, there is so much negotiation about which oil is better, which vodka is better, how long to keep, how long to store. All of that was like a chaos for me of different opinions where my mind was just getting lost. So I shut that down and I knew with these 3 mediums, my body will just guide me again. Around 80% of plants that I was picking, I did not know anything about them. I didn't know their names, I didn't know their properties, and sometimes my mind would hesitate, like, what if this plant is poisonous? But my body was so confident and calm and guiding me in such a very assured way that I was just following in trust. So I started making medicine for other people, friends around, neighbors, and eventually it started growing onto more professional level. I developed my logo, purchased a lot of bottles, and started putting up my medicine in different local shops.
You who've been following me for a long time, you probably know that I suffer from PMDD, which is perimenstrual dysphoric disorder, because of the brain injury that I acquired from decades of abuse and from a certain type of, I had mycotoxicosis. But it's been this progressive kind of, I was getting better, and then because in Costa Rica, you can't get supplements across the border. I met this amazing woman, Aaliyah, and she said, okay, well, the way I work, this is where it gets fascinating, okay? And she goes into, I'm not even going to bastardize it because I don't know. She goes into some type of state where she communicates with my higher self or my angels or my whoever. I don't know who she's talking to. She didn't get this detailed. So get this. She downloads the information of which herbs to use from her organic garden that she grows everything in this beautiful finca here. It's called Finca Ipe. And she gives me these beautiful bottles that need to be refrigerated. So this one is, I've already started using it, and let me tell you what happened in 2 days of drinking the first set of tonics or elixirs. So I've drank about 1.5 liters of this already. So what happens for me hormonally before I get my period is from when I ovulate to the end of until I bleed, I'm a different person. This is where the dysphoria comes in. It's really uncomfortable and really difficult to manage, business and relationships and taking care of myself, because you lose a lot of, it's like you just shut down. So as I started drinking this, I noticed the next morning when I woke up, I was me. I was like laughing and talking to people. This is just a few days before I bleed, and I'm normally like hissing, get away. I had the best poop, which is usually not the case, especially right before my period. And I've noticed my body changing, my water retention changing. It's jiving with me. Herbs jive so well with me. And normally what happens with my period is I'll get some spotting before the actual bleed comes. Dude, I had no PMS symptoms last night, slept like a dream. Woke up this morning, went to go pee, and all of a sudden I start bleeding, full on period. And I haven't had that for years and years, if not over a decade.
So I left Costa Rica a few years ago and traveled around that region for 2 more years. And since then, I haven't been making any medicine for other people anymore, but I am constantly growing something, collecting, preserving seeds. Cannot pass by the plants without checking them, admiring them, or just meditating next to them. This experience has taught me so much. I received a lot of information about plants in general that I am willing to share here on YouTube. But the main thing that I want to say at the end of this video is that you have to believe in your own internal abilities. You can get inspired and notice other methods, but you don't have to doubt your own internal wisdom at all. You have all the knowledge inside of you, and if something is suddenly pulling you in, you have to literally stand up and get your hands on. And don't get intimidated by the society who claims that in order to be an expert you need 10 or 20 or 30 years of knowledge and experience and certificates and diplomas. This is all bullshit. I met so many people throughout this time who were telling me that what I'm doing is not correct or they doubt it, but the only reason they express themselves so because they get intimidated by the fact that they invested so much money, time and energy to get to a certain level. And here I am. It takes me only a week to understand the calling and just start doing it. If we put away fear and emotions, we will notice that the natural world is full of information that is peacefully resting right on the surface, waiting when we will start sensing it, receiving it. I am not special more than anyone else. Yes, I have my individual abilities, my individual characteristics, but I am not smarter or wiser. So anyone can tap into a field that has a potential for them directly through own body. And these 3 pillars, my body, mind and energy, allowing me to have access to this. So if you would like to learn something about the plants and maybe you have some interesting questions, feel free to drop them here in the comment section and hopefully I can answer them and share what I mean by communication with plants in my case and what I learned from plants through this communication. Thank you.